If your body feels like it is aging faster than it should, if your energy drops without warning, if your mind feels foggy, and your recovery from stress or injury seems slower than before, the problem may not be your age at all. It may not be your genetics either. The real issue could be happening much deeper inside your bone marrow, where your body's repair system is supposed to stay active and strong. For years, people have been told that stress is mostly a mental issue, something you fix with better sleep, meditation, or taking a break from work. But modern research paints a very different picture. Chronic stress is not just a feeling. It is a biological condition that changes your body at the cellular level. And over time, it quietly weakens the system responsible for rebuilding and repairing your entire body. At the center of this process is a hormone called cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol is useful. It helps you react quickly, stay alert, and handle pressure. But when it stays high for long periods, it stops being helpful and starts becoming destructive. It doesn't just affect your mood. It changes how your cells behave, especially the stem cells that your body depends on for repair and renewal. These stem cells are not rare or abstract. They exist throughout your body, in your bone marrow, brain, gut, muscles, and blood vessels. You can think of them as a built-in repair system. When something gets damaged, these cells are supposed to activate, divide, and rebuild tissue. That is how your body stays young and functional over time. But when cortisol remains elevated for too long, it sends a very different signal. Instead of repair and regeneration, it pushes the body into conservation mode. Stem cells become less active. They stop responding the way they should. Over time, damage builds up faster than it is repaired, and that is when signs of aging begin to accelerate. What most people never realize is that this process is not permanent. It is not locked into your DNA. It is controlled by hormonal signals, which means it can also be changed. Hi, I'm Dr. Leanna, an emergency medicine physician and integrative health researcher. Early in my career, I was trained to be skeptical of traditional herbal medicine. If something wasn't backed by large clinical trials, it was usually dismissed. But that perspective started to change when I began studying a plant called Withania somnifera, more commonly known as ashwagandha. At first, I expected to find weak or inconsistent evidence. Instead, I found detailed research showing measurable effects on cortisol regulation, inflammation, and even stem cell activity. This wasn't just traditional belief. It was modern science beginning to explain ancient observations at a biological level. What stood out most was how this plant interacts with systems directly involved in stress and aging. It doesn't just reduce stress in a general sense. It appears to influence the exact pathways that control how your body responds to stress at a cellular level. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what current research actually shows about ashwagandha and how it connects to cortisol, stem cells, and aging. We will break down how stress damages your body internally, how specific compounds in this herb may help reverse that process, and what the science says about real-world results. Because once you understand what is actually happening inside your body, you stop seeing stress as just a mental state. You start seeing it as a biological force that can either accelerate aging or, when properly managed, support recovery and repair. And that is where everything begins to change. To understand how deep this issue goes, you first need to understand what stem cells really are and why they matter so much for your health. Most people associate stem cells with complex medical procedures or laboratory research, but the truth is much simpler and more important. You already have billions of stem cells in your body right now. They are found in your bone marrow, your brain, your gut lining, your muscles, and your blood vessels. Their job is simple but critical. They act as your body's internal repair system. Whenever tissue is damaged, these cells activate, divide, and replace what was lost. This constant cycle of repair is what keeps your body functioning over time. You can think of them as a repair team that is always on standby. When everything is working correctly, they respond quickly to damage, rebuild tissues, and maintain balance in your body. But when that system slows down or stops responding properly, repair becomes incomplete. Damage starts to accumulate instead of being fixed. This is where cortisol becomes important again. Cortisol is your main stress hormone, and it is designed to help you survive short-term challenges. If you face danger or intense pressure, it helps your body react quickly by increasing alertness and energy availability. The problem begins when cortisol stays elevated for too long. Chronic stress keeps this hormone active even when there is no immediate danger. Instead of helping your body recover, it starts interfering with its ability to repair itself. Research from institutions such as the National Institutes of Health has shown that prolonged exposure to glucocorticoids, the hormone group that includes cortisol, can suppress stem cell activity in multiple areas of the body. In the bone marrow, it reduces the production of new cells. In the brain, it affects neural stem cell activity, especially in regions responsible for memory and learning. In the gut, it slows down the natural renewal of the intestinal lining. This means your repair system doesn't disappear. It becomes inactive. The cells are still there, but they stop responding properly to damage signals. Over time, this leads to slower healing, weaker immunity, reduced cognitive performance, and visible signs of aging. What makes this even more important is that this process is not fixed. It is driven by hormonal signals. If the signal changes, the behavior of the system changes too. That realization is what led researchers to look more closely at compounds that could influence cortisol directly. One of the most studied natural substances in this area is ashwagandha, a plant used in traditional medicine for thousands of years. For a long time, it was dismissed in modern science as just a traditional remedy. But over the last 2 decades, that view has started to change as more controlled studies began to reveal measurable biological effects. The key compounds inside this plant, called withanolides, appear to interact with stress pathways in ways that directly affect cortisol levels and cellular repair systems. And this is where the science starts to get even more interesting. The active compounds in ashwagandha, known as withanolides, are now at the center of much of the modern research on this plant. These naturally occurring compounds appear to interact with several key biological systems involved in stress response, inflammation, and cellular regeneration. One of the most studied withanolides, known as withanolide A, has shown the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier. This is important because it means it can directly interact with brain tissue, including areas involved in memory, learning, and stress regulation. In laboratory studies, withanolide A has been observed to influence neural stem cell activity in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is a region of the brain closely linked to memory formation and emotional regulation. It is also one of the first areas to show structural decline under chronic stress conditions. What researchers observed is that withanolide A appears to promote both the growth and differentiation of neural stem cells under controlled conditions. In simpler terms, it helps dormant repair cells become active again and supports the formation of new neural connections. At the same time, ashwagandha also appears to influence the HPA axis, which is the system responsible for regulating cortisol production. Under chronic stress, this system becomes overactive, continuously producing cortisol even when the original stressor is gone. Withanolides help restore balance to the system by improving feedback sensitivity. This means the body becomes better at recognizing when cortisol levels are already high and reduces unnecessary production. Several clinical studies have confirmed measurable reductions in serum cortisol levels after regular supplementation with standardized ashwagandha extracts. As cortisol levels begin to normalize, another important change happens. The suppression signal on stem cells begins to lift. The repair system that was previously inactive starts to function more normally again. This creates a chain reaction. Lower cortisol supports better cellular activity. Improved cellular activity supports tissue repair. And improved repair contributes to better physical and cognitive function over time. What makes this particularly important is that these effects are not based on subjective feelings alone. They are supported by measurable biological changes observed in controlled studies, including blood hormone levels and cellular activity markers. In addition to brain and stress regulation effects, ashwagandha also appears to influence other hormones that play a role in repair and recovery. This includes testosterone and growth hormone, both of which are closely linked to tissue regeneration and muscle repair. At the same time, it also reduces inflammatory signaling in the body by modulating pathways such as NF-kappa B. This helps create a more stable environment in which stem cells can function more effectively. All of these mechanisms work together rather than in isolation, which is one of the reasons this plant has gained so much attention in recent scientific research. One of the most important but often overlooked effects of chronic cortisol elevation is its impact on other hormones that are essential for growth and repair. When cortisol remains high for long periods, it does not work alone. It actively suppresses other systems in the body that are responsible for regeneration. Testosterone and growth hormone are two of the most important examples. These hormones are not only related to physical performance, they play a direct role in activating stem cells involved in muscle repair, bone strength, and overall tissue regeneration. When cortisol is elevated, testosterone levels often decline. This is not accidental. It is part of the body's survival response. In a high-stress state, the body prioritizes immediate survival over long-term growth and repair. As a result, anabolic processes slow down and regenerative activity decreases. Research has shown that ashwagandha supplementation may help reverse this pattern. In controlled clinical studies, participants taking standardized extracts of ashwagandha over several weeks showed measurable increases in testosterone levels. In some studies, improvements were also observed in markers related to reproductive health and physical performance. This shift is important because testosterone directly influences satellite cells, which are a type of stem cell responsible for muscle repair and growth. When these cells become more active, recovery from physical stress improves and overall tissue resilience increases. Another key mechanism involves inflammation control. Chronic inflammation creates a hostile environment for stem cells, making it harder for them to function properly. One of the central pathways involved in this process is NF-kappa B, a molecule that regulates inflammatory responses in the body. Ashwagandha compounds have been shown to reduce NF-kappa B activity, which helps lower inflammation levels and improve the cellular environment. When inflammation decreases, stem cells are able to function more efficiently, supporting better repair and regeneration. This combination of effects is what makes ashwagandha unique in the context of stress biology. It does not target just one system. It influences multiple interconnected pathways at the same time, including hormonal balance, inflammation, and cellular activity. By reducing cortisol, supporting anabolic hormones, and lowering inflammation, it creates conditions that allow the body's natural repair systems to become active again. This is not about adding something artificial to the body. It is about restoring balance to systems that have been suppressed over time. The result is not an instant transformation, but a gradual shift in how the body responds to stress and recovery over weeks and months. Several well-documented clinical studies have explored the effects of ashwagandha on stress, hormones, and physical performance, and the results consistently point toward measurable biological changes. In one randomized controlled trial, participants who took a standardized ashwagandha root extract for several weeks showed a significant reduction in serum cortisol levels. This was not based on self-reported stress levels, but on direct blood measurements, which makes the findings more reliable from a medical standpoint. Another study focusing on physically active adults found that regular supplementation was associated with improvements in strength, recovery, and testosterone levels. Participants also showed better endurance performance and faster recovery after exercise, which suggests improved muscle repair activity. Sleep quality has also been studied in relation to ashwagandha use. In clinical trials involving individuals with sleep disturbances, participants reported improved sleep duration and quality after supplementation. More importantly, these improvements were linked to reductions in morning cortisol levels, suggesting a reset in the body's stress rhythm. This connection between sleep and stem cell repair is critical. Most of the body's regenerative activity occurs during deep sleep. If sleep is disrupted, repair processes become less efficient. By improving sleep quality, ashwagandha indirectly supports the body's natural recovery cycle. Based on research findings, standardized extracts such as KSM, 6,6, and sensoril are the most studied forms. These extracts differ slightly in composition, but both contain measured levels of withanolides, which are the active compounds responsible for most of the biological effects. Typical research-backed dosages range between 300 and 600 milligrams per day, often split into two doses. One is taken earlier in the day, and the other is taken in the evening, particularly before sleep, to support nighttime recovery. Some studies also suggest that taking ashwagandha with dietary fats may improve absorption, as withanolides are fat-soluble compounds. This means taking it with a meal may enhance its effectiveness. Certain nutrients may also support its effects, including magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, and antioxidant-rich foods. These do not replace ashwagandha, but may help create a better internal environment for its effects to occur. However, consistency is important. Many clinical trials showing benefits ran for at least 8 to 12 weeks. Short-term use often does not produce noticeable results, which leads many people to underestimate its effects. Despite the growing research, many people do not experience results from ashwagandha because of a few common mistakes that significantly reduce its effectiveness. One of the biggest issues is using unstandardized products. Many supplements on the market do not specify the concentration of withanolides, which means the active ingredient levels can vary widely. Without standardization, it becomes impossible to know whether you are getting a therapeutic dose. Another common mistake is timing. Some people take ashwagandha only in the morning, expecting immediate stress relief. While it can have calming effects during the day, its most important benefits for recovery and hormonal balance often occur during sleep. Splitting the dose between morning and night tends to produce more consistent results. A third mistake is expecting rapid changes. The biological systems involved in stress regulation and stem cell activity do not reset overnight. They change gradually. Most clinical studies that show significant effects run for at least 2 months. Expecting noticeable results within a week or two often leads to premature discontinuation. When used correctly, ashwagandha is not a quick fix. It is a tool that supports the body's own regulatory systems over time. Its effects are cumulative, meaning they build gradually, as hormonal balance improves and cellular repair systems become more active. It is also important to understand that aging is not only a fixed genetic process. A significant part of what we associate with aging is influenced by long-term biological stress. When cortisol remains elevated for years, it changes how efficiently the body repairs itself. This creates a slow accumulation of damage that eventually becomes visible as aging. But when that stress signal is reduced and balance is restored, the body's natural repair systems can become more active again. Stem cells respond more effectively. Inflammation decreases. Hormonal balance improves. Okay? And recovery becomes more efficient. This does not mean stopping aging entirely. It means influencing one of the key biological factors that accelerates it. The most important takeaway is simple. Your body's ability to repair itself is still present. It has not disappeared. In many cases, it is simply suppressed by long-term stress signals that can be modified. With the right understanding and consistent approach, those systems can begin to function more effectively again. If this information helped you understand your body in a new way, stay consistent with learning and apply it carefully. Your biology is more responsive than you might think, and small changes, when done correctly over time, can lead to meaningful differences in how you feel and function